All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this incredible chat. Now, I booked this in a few weeks ago when John offered to be on any of our shows, and I was super excited. I knew I wanted to jump in and have a chat with him. The reason being, this is a man who was doing online training, who was educating other health and fitness professionals from all over the world on online training, who has created multiple platforms successfully on online training before online training was even a thing. And we're talking about what, John, 2011 or something like that, right? That's when you started?
We can talk about all of the resistance that I faced trying to make it a thing. That was interesting. Yeah, I started talking about it and building the first education around it in 2012.
Yeah.
And put out the first program for it in 2013. Yeah. And let me tell you, call it the old guard of the industry, right? Like the certification companies and stuff like that were out there. They did not like it. And it was interesting what was happening, because all of them have embraced it now. But at the time, man, they were fighting this thing too. How can you possibly do this? That's not ethical. That's not whatever. And it was a lot of work. It was actually a lot of marketing work. Yeah. Making online training, making people understand that online training was okay to do. Like, you can responsibly take care of clients online. There was a lot of work in that. And obviously now people have just kind of accepted it, but yeah, it was a fun journey for sure. It was funny when I'd see things said about me at times. It's just like, you're just scared because you don't understand this new thing, right?
And I remember, like, I came across your work in 2018, if you remember, and I was heavily pregnant with baby number 4 then. I already had 3 babies. I was training in-person clients back to back, and I was going on maternity leave, and I was like, I've got all these amazing women that I'm coaching. I'm going to have to stop coaching now, right? So I tried, John, to do this online training by myself, but I flopped, right? And I was like, okay, this isn't working. And then I went on Google, like, what is the best online training certification program out there? And OTA came up. And honestly, my life changed. And you know this, and this is why to this day, 5-6 years later, like being in the business, but also 3 years being an online trainer, I still talk about OTA, right? Because that was the beginning of my journey. Now, I remember when I started, John, when people asked me what online training was, I had no idea how to explain it. I had no idea what it entailed, and the assumptions that people had would be something like live Zoom workouts or random YouTube exercise videos sent through WhatsApp, right? Like all these ideas that people have. Now, what is online training? How would you define what online training is?
I mean, it's all of those things, right? It's just a better way to take care of clients. The best single definition that I can give it is a true client-centered approach. A lot of the constraints in a conventional gym, conventional fitness environment force business to dictate fitness. Yeah. Right. There's a strict 30-minute or 1-hour session. You have to show up at a very specific time. The trainer that you have to work with has to be very close to you. Well, all of those things falling into place perfectly, the odds of that are so slim. And we know that most clients won't travel more than 20 minutes to go to a gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if the right person who has the right amount of time, right, and availability in the right times isn't within 20 minutes of you, you are not going to be served well by the conventional fitness industry. And as a result, business dictates fitness, right? Which means that often the fitness is not optimal. And the reason why people hire fitness professionals is to optimize their fitness. Anybody can jump up and down. Anybody can go for a walk, right? They hire us because they either want to, offset and delegate the responsibility, and or they want to optimize it. They don't have a lot of time, and maybe their energy's tapped. They have 4 kids or whatever, and they want to get as much done for themselves, for their families, as they can possibly get done in that period of time. And so when you look at online training or hybrid online and in person, all that you're doing is you are figuring out how to leverage new technologies to allow you to give a more client-centered approach, right? And service clients better. That's it. So it could be all of those things, right? What matters, and what's interesting is that for the same client, it might be different things at different times, right? One client doesn't need the same type of training, the same type of instruction, the exact same way in the same time slot for the exact same amount of time for the entirety of their life training cycle. There might be a client who would be perfect for a small group training environment in a gym for 4 months. And then they might want a one-on-one trainer. Let's say they might get an injury or have some pain or whatever it is. They need a little bit more personalized approach. And then they're going to be traveling a lot. And so it doesn't make sense to have a constant slot. Like people's lives change. And if you understand the different models with online, hybrid training, and this is why I don't care so much about online training. There's this misconception, and that's largely my fault in how I formed it. I don't care about online training. I care about the problem that online training solves. And I care about more people getting active. I care about people who work in health and fitness having better lives and better careers so that they can serve more people and help society get healthier, right? And you know what? Fitness is a lifetime endeavor. It's not a one and done 30-day challenge. And in order to do that, like, people's lives change. And a fitness program routine instructor needs to be fluid to be able to change as their clients' lives change. And conventional fitness simply wasn't set up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when I started coaching online in the online space, I was already a trainer for about 3 years or 4 years, right? But John, it was a different ball game, right?
How so? You were in Africa, right?
I was in Africa, right? And obviously I was training people in person, and now having to, because when you're training in person, it's very reactive, right? It's like they're doing something, you can respond, but in an online space, it's almost like I have to think ahead, and that tends to be a lot harder, right? And I know in some of the books of yours that I've read, you usually recommend having some in-person experience before you get into the online space. Do you want to talk to us about the few differences in terms of the coaching, difference between coaching online and coaching someone in person? What the main differences there are?
Sure. I mean, when you train a client in person, you can ask them how they're feeling. They can say, oh, this looks weird. Also, people who have been doing this for a long time, I mean, I've watched so many bodies move at this point. You're the same way. You've watched so many bodies move. I can look at somebody. I did this with a buddy of mine at the gym a couple of weeks ago. I took one look at him and I just gave him one quick form check. It was interesting. He was deadlifting, right? And he was technically doing it with right form. This guy had never had a trainer. He had an app or something that he was following. And he was technically doing it with right form, but it wasn't the right form for him because all bodies are different.
I love that.
Right. So I took one look at him, and I didn't even know why yet, but I took one look at him. I'm like, shift your toes out, grab the bar like this, hook it, squeeze it, boom, form, perfect, smashed it out, right? Now his back isn't hinging. Now he's not struggling with the movement. And then I took a step back and I, thought about it a little bit more. And I was like, okay, well, this is why this was happening. He seems to have a tight acetabulum, right? Just naturally, his ball and socket joint in his hip is a little bit tighter, whatever, right? I could figure it out retrospectively. But because I've seen so many people do that movement, I knew exactly what he needed to do to fix it, even though how he was doing it was technically correct from the books. The problem is that there's no normal body. It doesn't exist. And great trainers who have been around a lot of bodies can do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you work with a lot of people in person, you gain that skill set. You gain this deeper understanding of how the body moves and how different types of bodies move. And then when you start working with somebody online, you can start to proactively anticipate a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like if I took one look at this guy, I may not have known that he had a tighter ball and socket joint in his hip, but I could have looked at him and I could have said, you sit all day. You've got longer joints, right? Oh, you've got longer limbs, sorry. And I could have also looked, I don't know if I would have asked him for this, but now that I know him, it's like, and you have longer muscular insertions, like your Achilles insertion is high. Like you know that these things are the case just from looking at somebody. And I could have given him the right form for him. This is not something you learn in a book. That's the point.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I learn in a book or certification or whatever it is, I would say, okay, knees in line with your toes, about shoulder width apart, right? You're going to grip the bar, overhand grip out, inside of your legs or outside your legs, depending on the type of deadlift you're doing or whatever, right? For him, that would be incorrect. And unless you work with a lot of bodies, and particularly similar types of bodies that are chronically doing similar types of things,
Yeah.
you wouldn't otherwise know this stuff.
Yeah. Super interesting. And again, like you said, having that experience in person is just going to give you more room to create better programs for your clients, right? And just be 10 steps ahead of them, essentially.
That's right.
Now,
that's right. And just get in front of stuff. You're always going to have to be a little bit reactive. Lives change, people change, stuff goes wrong. Like even, I'm working with I have a trainer too, right? I always hire trainers, and, and that's another interesting lesson. I feel like I've been in the fitness industry for 17 years.
Right.
I've written 11 books for trainers. I've published over 1 million words for trainers. And I always still hire a trainer, right? Like you can always, it's not like, I know enough to do this on my own, right?
Yeah.
You're always going to benefit in incredible ways. And I pay full price. Like it's a buddy of mine, but I very much pay full price. He actually tried to give me a discount and I said, no, you idiot. But it's still, we get on the phone every so often. I can text him whenever, but get on the phone for a checkup. And I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Like this one exercise just feels kind of funky.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right, cool. Let's try it this way. Like that's always going to happen.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to get in front of it 100%, but the more experience that somebody has, particularly in person, hands-on, watching bodies move, you get all these young, run and gun trainers, male and females these days, who are told that they can, make 6 figures by training clients online. And by the way, you just, sign up for this mentorship or whatever it is, and we'll teach you how to, and they all fall flat. And the reason for that is they really only know how their body moves.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, the people who are going to pay them $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, or whatever it is, it ain't going to be some 19-year-old kid. It's going to be somebody a little bit more mature, who has a little bit more scar tissue, who has a little bit more life pressures and stresses. Like somebody who doesn't have kids telling somebody who has kids how to better manage their time.
I love that.
Is just the most unbelievably ridiculous thing.
I've got that a few times actually.
It's like you don't know, like nothing about anything. Like you have no idea. There was a funny example of this woman in our industry who runs an all-female kind of entrepreneur group. And she's just decided that she wants to be in the, no plants, no pets, no kids right movement. Like that's just her decision, which is totally fine, right? She's not married, she has a boyfriend, she has no plants, she has no pets, she has no kids. She lives in some sunny place that she relocated to, and she lives this basically life of leisure where she has, unlimited time to like drink wine and exercise and whatever it is. Most of the women in her business development program are moms.
Huh.
And one of them actually messaged me one day, and she's like, you'll laugh at this. She's like, we had to stage an intervention from her where we all invited her to a Zoom call and made sure our kids were around. Just so she could see what it was like.
Yeah.
Because she has no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. Like, oh, I know what it's like. My friend has kids. It's like, nah, you get to give the kid back. Like,
You get to give the kid back. Yeah.
Very different, right? Ball game. And you are 4, which is, I mean, even more different. But I just think that those things are fun.
But I guess because I have kids, and this is again, it comes down to me being able to relate to my clients, right? Because when I work with moms, and because I am a mom, there's that understanding, that communication, that which is pretty cool. Now let's talk about the current world, John. Right? Everybody is an online trainer now, literally almost everybody. Right? What is going to set a trainer apart from the other? Right? Like, how does one differentiate themselves from the rest?
A trainer?
Yeah, an online trainer.
Oh man, I mean, they're real, they're honest. They don't do and act and say what they feel like they should say because they see other people saying it. They actually become more, over time, this takes experience, right? They become more in tune with themselves. They become much more understanding of what's right for them and learn to tune out the noise of everything else. And that can only really, I think, come with experience. Like you kind of got to be around in the game for long enough to know which games you want to play and which games you don't. Like, I'm pretty sure that I never want to sit in front of a camera to music and point at words that pop up in the screen. Like I'm pretty sure that that's not the type of content that I want to create.
Yeah.
And I'm also very sure that I'm gonna, I'm speaking a lot more freely. I'm speaking a lot more bluntly, right? And that's because I feel in my heart of hearts, there is a way that things should be. And in many ways, it's not how things are right now. And that's troublesome. And I believe it needs to be spoken about more. And there are some people that are going to very much be repelled by that.
Yeah.
And that's the case. Like somebody, I use the B word out of respect for you and your audience. I won't say it, but I use the B word in a post, and a community manager was just like, oh, somebody, just so bit of constructive, feedback from one of our followers. Like they were really offended that you used the word. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
They're in my home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I chose my words carefully in my home. Now, out of respect to you on your podcast in your home, I'm not going to use those words, right? But you're going to come to me on my account and you're going to tell me that you don't like a word that I used?
And make demands, right, of how you should show up.
And make demands of how I show up because it offended you because of some sort of pre-existing belief or bias of how the world should be.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, right? I respect that. I totally respect how you want to be. And if I ever go to your house, I will very much act accordingly, right? But when you come to my house, this is how I operate. And if you don't like it, like totally fine, right? There's a lot of houses you can go to. And so I think more and more increasingly, the trainers who are going to stand out, the people who are going to stand out are just the people who are just okay with being themselves and know that that's going to be right for some and know that that's not going to be right for others. But odds are, if you're a good person who does good work, you're going to be right for enough people to feed you and your family pretty good food for the rest of your life. If you never do that, though, if you protect yourself, I mean, I fell into this trap. The last 2 years, I spoke very corporate. A company became very corporate. We used, niceties masquerading as sales pitches. We said all the fluffy stuff you're supposed to say on mission statements and all that.
Mm.
And surprise, surprise, nobody cared about us anymore. Like, that was it. It was just apathy all around, right?
Mm.
And so if you try to be nice to everybody, if you try to, not push any buttons, I mean, I'm not saying that you go out of your way to be like aggressive. I'm just saying you be yourself. You talk about the things that are unique to you, that you believe in ways that you believe is right or true. And if you do that, you're going to connect with other folks who resonate with those messages. And every once in a while, you might misstep or overstep and you're wrong, and you'll learn, right? And perhaps you'll then decide that maybe that was one step too far for you because of your comfort level, which is fine, right? That's learning. But most of the time, most of the people who fail to ever stand out or make an impact in any way, it's because they're too scared to be themselves. And so then they're not anybody, and then they don't appeal to anybody.
Yeah. I hear that, and I love that. So show up authentically, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Next question is super important, John. Where is the Casio?
I know, I'm not wearing it, right?
Where is it? I was hoping to see one. Like one of them. We have like a million of them, no?
Well, I only have one here, actually.
You have one?
I only have one here. Calvin, I had to order a new one because Calvin lost mine. But no, I mean, I told you just before we recorded, I did a morning of filming a videography this morning for some really fun stuff that we're doing on Instagram. Also, I've always really loved spoken word poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never performed it, and I've never taken my hand to write it before. But what I actually did is I took some of my best performing Instagram posts, and I basically turned them into spoken word poems.
That's so
and
cool.
And I perform them, and I have a videographer that's doing some really good stuff. Like I'll read you a little bit.
Yes, please.
Fun. This is fun. I won't perform it well, but like, allow me to apologize in advance because today I'm about to get sciencey. But I've had enough of random jumpy squatty things masquerading as legitimate fitness advice from Booty Band Betty and Jumping Jack Jimmy on IG. What's the? Oh yeah, this is fun. You may have heard this term that big fitness marketers like to use called muscle confusion. It's made up. Muscles don't have brains and don't get confused. This term's an example of science being abused. Don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean that you can't have fun in the gym. What it does mean is that you need to recognize fun for what it is. And just so you know, none of this is my opinion. The science is clear. What gets hearts on IG isn't what works in the gym. So I'm just having fun with stuff like that.
Skills, my friend, skills.
But So anyway, so why I'm not wearing the Casio is I performed all this morning, and like videography is just hard. Like it's just taxing, right? It's just repeating stuff. Oh, especially getting good audio, just repeating stuff over and over and over again. And so I had a half an hour before this. And so I just jumped in the pool and just like threw water on my face. So I took off my watch, and it's around here somewhere.
Thank you for being here again. Now, I know that you love your routines, right? Your priority list, the 3 things that you do every day, that, right? I remember those, right?
There you go.
Now, what would you say would be the 3 things that every coach, every trainer should be doing every day to improve their skills as a coach, and also in terms of a business growth, right? What would your top 3 things be to be done every day?
Interesting question, because I think it would very much depend on what stage of growth or what stage of their development that coach is at.
Mm-hmm.
So can I ask for like a little bit more? I mean, who are we talking about? Are we talking about somebody who's brand new?
Someone who's starting out.
someone who's brand new, like to the fitness industry.
Yep. Yeah.
Your time should be combined basically for the first year that you're in the industry, at least, if not the first 2 or 3. Your only job is to get as good as you can get, as quick as you can get that good. And so as long as, you can afford it, and that's a whole nother discussion, but as long as you can afford it, all of your choices should be around going to places that are going to help improve your education and get you in front of as many bodies as you can possibly get in front of early on in your career. There's like, do you go and work at a big box gym who maybe doesn't pay you as much and maybe even doesn't treat their trainers as well, versus driving around and training clients in their home where you might take home more money, right? Or working in a small boutique gym or whatever it is. Well, for the first couple of years of your career, you should work in that big box gym for no other reason than you are going to see a lot of bodies move.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you need. You're also probably going to be around a lot of other trainers, so you can see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you can learn from the good. Why is that one gal that you work with really successful and popular, even though she knows nothing about training compared to this other guy who objectively knows everything about biomechanics and physiology, but nobody could give a damn to work with him, right? How can you take bits and bops and pieces from those, right, and bring them in? And then going home at night and just reading. You shouldn't just read, because you have to have context when you're reading, right? And so it's like, even for sales or something, for example, you don't read a sales book before you've never done a sales call.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do a whole bunch of sales meetings and they probably don't go that well, or they're super awkward or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you go and you start to read the sales books, because now you have context, right, to put it there. So for the first couple of years, honestly, that's all that I would say. And then what I did, which, I mean, I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but I'm really happy that I did, was I wrote a blog. And nobody read the blog. Wasn't like, it wasn't like I was probably upset at the time that nobody was reading it, but nobody read the blog. And looking back, me doing that blog accelerated my learning so much, because the best way to learn is to teach. And I believe that everybody should be a teacher, because when you teach something, it forces you to understand that thing, that concept, in somebody else's eyes. And so start a blog. Don't care if anybody else looks at it. Hey, you're going to get reps in writing as well, which I think writing is the most important, most valuable skill you could ever attain. But the truth of the matter is, it will help you learn much faster. And so as you're learning stuff, write an article about it. Don't care if anybody else sees it. You will learn. Like, it's not about learning more. It's not about reading more books. It's about choosing very carefully the stuff that you learn. Or if you start reading something that you don't care about or isn't that good, just skip it. Who cares? There's lots of books. And then the books that you do decide to read, like, really study, right? Don't care about your buddy Ricky who's, bragging that he reads a book a week. Like, who gives a shit? Like, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. One last question, because I know we're out of time. Tell us about all the cool things you're working on right now, John. I know we coaches like me are excited about the thing that's coming out soon.
Oh, I know. It's super exciting. A lot of things are in the works. Our high-end mentorship, which is currently level 2 of the Online Trainer Academy, is being renamed and rebranded and also restructured a little bit for no other reason than it's just turning into a mentorship, right? Like, it's not a level 2. It's a mentorship. It's a business mentorship. It's number 1. Number 2 is the Online Trainer Academy, which is our certification, is being shut down next year. And we are we're starting up a course platform. And the platform will have 3 programs to begin with. One on time management and productivity, one on client care while leveraging new technology, and one on marketing fitness in the 21st century. And these are smaller, more digestible courses for people on the go. 15 minutes lessons, right? 20 to 30 lessons each. And you take it with you. There's no textbooks. There's nothing like that. You can take it with you. And so evolving that considerably. And then the third thing is, and so that platform will expand to include just all of the skills that trainers and people who work in fitness need to be successful in the modern day. Like all of the stuff you should have been taught by your certification, but weren't, basically. It's what we're going to be teaching you. And then the final one, which I think is the one that you were referring to, is our software platform. And so, yeah, we've been building a software platform for trainers for the last really 2 years. And it's super exciting. I actually played around with it, with bits of it on a staging site last week for the first time. Yeah. It's called Quick Coach. Anybody who's interested can get on the wait list at THEPTDC.
I'm going to have the link on I'm going to put it up. Yep.
Quick Coach. And perhaps, I mean, I could tell you about all the little bits and pieces, but the most interesting, appealing part, I think, for people listening is that it's going to be 100% free. And so not freemium, not free for a few clients, free for one client, free for 10,000 clients, no feature restrictions, nothing. We're looking at this as a marketing expense, basically. You know, instead of paying for advertisements this year, I made a bet that what if we spend that same $500,000 and build an incredible software platform that's going to attract people to us, right? And have them actually want to come to our website versus us trying to convince them and coerce them with a, crappy free ebook or whatever it is. And so we'll see how that plays out. I haven't checked the wait list in the last couple of days, but we were at close to 4,000.
That wait list is going to be long.
Yeah, I mean, we're at like 4,000 plus people without really promoting it yet. So, I mean, clearly something about that's resonating, right? Just this idea that really, what most trainers need in software, like you're sending a spreadsheet to a client, right? And so we just devised a really slick, eloquent, very simple way to send workouts to and from clients, and eliminated all the other bloat. Right? That software companies basically only put in because they have to justify charging you $50 a month or $100 a month. So that's going to be fun. Yeah.
Amazing. Like everything that's coming from you is going to be incredible, John. And I, for one, am looking forward to it right now. I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for what you do, John. Thank you for what you do for this industry. Thank you for allowing coaches like me who are busy moms to still be able to help people. Thank you to all the moms who can actually still stay healthy and around their children, right? It's only because coaches like us are out there who can help those women. And if it wasn't for the OTA, God knows what I would have been doing. So thank you so much for everything that you do. You and the team are absolutely incredible. And I, for one, am super excited to see what else is coming, because sign me up. You know this already. So.
Hey, thank you so much.
And thank you for being here, for being a chat with me.
You bet.
Right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.